Shalom, shalom. This week we read Parshat Hanan, and it is also Shabbat Nachamu. Shabbat Nachamu is Shabbat, is the first week of comfort that follows after Tesha B'Av. Tesha B'Av, we know, we mourn the destruction of our two temples. The first one, which was destroyed because of the three cardinal sins that the Jewish nation engaged in, and that was idol worship, murder, and engaging in illicit and forbidden sexual relationships. And the nation was guilty of these three sins, therefore the first temple was destroyed. Then, after it was destroyed, it was rebuilt again, the second temple, and that temple was destroyed because of sinat chinam, which is known as baseless hatred, because there was infighting, there was hatred from one Jew to his brother, couldn't get along, and this is one of the most difficult and self-destructive sins that we could possibly engage in. And when we are like this, God is not with us. He is not amongst us, and we push him out, and then bad things happen, and the temple was destroyed. And now, thousands of years later, we haven't had our third temple rebuilt because we're still guilty of this sin, of this baseless hatred, where we can't get along, one Jew for the other. And that's why the third temple hasn't been rebuilt. And so that's why we still mourn the destruction of Tesha B'Av, sit on the floor, and we're mourning because part and parcel we have taken part in this sin, and that's why the temple is not yet rebuilt. And this is a cause of great distress and devastation for our nation as we continue to suffer year after year. And in this week that follows, when we finally, after Tisha B'Av, we get ourselves off from the floor and we try and go back into regular life, there's first these 7 weeks of comfort that then lead to the high holidays, the days of awe, where we can actually start anew and rebuild our lives. But we have this buffer zone of 7 weeks of comfort. And it starts off, we read this week, Parshat Hanan. And in Hanan, it is very powerful. There's a lot of the basics, fundamentals of Judaism that are all there laid out. And it's, I think, very appropriate that we start with all the fundamentals once again of Moshe telling the nation, from their inception, the basic tenets of faith. He talks about Ein od milvado, there is none other than God, that God is, was, and will be, and he is really, in reality, the only thing that exists, and everything else is just a part of that. And we have to understand that, and we have to understand also Hashem Hu Elokim, that God we see as two facets, as bifurcated, as God of mercy and God of who is just and can take vengeance for the sins, but God is really one. That is all really, because Ein od milvado, God is one, and we see things, because we are human, we can only see things in part. We don't understand the fullness of everything, how it all fits in one big picture. And he goes over also, Moshe, the Aseret HaDibur, when we first became a nation, the 10 Commandments that we received on Sinai, because it's like we're starting again. Our temples were destroyed, and we have to pick up the pieces, and we need to remember what we are about. Who are we? What are the basics? The 10 Commandments, really, we're told that all the Torah can be understood through these 10 Commandments. They're the fundamentals, which everything else springs forth. And so we're starting again, like from square one. But the most, I think, powerful message in there, in terms of us really trying to get it right, that can bring us comfort after Tisha B'Av, and after really mourning the destruction and the horrific things that happened to us, is when Moshe goes over and reminds us, and he says the Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. This is the sentence that encompasses everything. It's our major statement of faith. We say it People say it on their deathbed. You're supposed to say it 2 times when you get up in the morning and before you go to sleep at night, 2 times a day, in the morning and in the evening. Because when you get up, you have to get up with this in mind, that you're starting afresh a new day. Every new day represents a beginning of everything, and you need to keep this in mind because it's the basic. And before you go to sleep, because when you go to sleep, it's kind of like a mini death, and it is a sentence we say before we die: is Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And this statement was also said by the tribes to Yaakov before he passed away, before he wanted to pass away and have a peaceful passing where he can go and feel comforted. All of a sudden said that. And the reason why they said that is because Yaakov was concerned. He was concerned that they might not be getting along. And when they said this, I believe that part of their meaning was not just talking about, Hear, O Israel, Hashem is one, meaning that there's only one, and like I said, Eino Mavada, there is no one else. What he's saying is we understand that God is one, that we are all a part of God, we are all part of God's plan, and that it all has to work together in harmony because it is all one. And that we understand that, and therefore we're going to make it work, and we're going to come together, and we understand the value of our brother being equal to the value of ourselves, and that only with everything coming together, working as one, can we fulfill God's greater plan. And they said this to Yaakov, I think, to comfort him and to have Yaakov understand that they knew what the game plan was. They knew that God's purpose in the creation of the world and the nation and what we were supposed to do was to get this point across to the whole world, the unity of God and creation, and everything's supposed to be working together. And that's what the Jewish nation is supposed to be, a light unto the world. And they're telling Yaakov, we understand this, you can die in peace, we're taking over this mission and we're going to work together, and don't worry. And why I find that so comforting, when we're starting again, we're starting new, and we're saying these words of the Shema, it's just taking back the power, because we've suffered as a Jewish nation thousands and thousands of years feeling powerless, feeling like we can't do anything. There's all these nations over and over again trying to destroy us, and we were powerless, walking to our deaths and destruction time after time after time. But if we understand that the power is not beyond us, the power is within us, the power is in our own hands, and if we want to live peacefully in our country with the presence of God amongst us, and have peace and harmony and not to worry about the future, we just have to embrace this statement, not just saying it out of obligation, but maybe obligated, but obligated from a place of understanding that this is our purpose and this is the fulfillment of our own identities, of who we are, of the purpose of the world. And if we can understand that, I think it would be easier to do, because it's not so easy to love your neighbor. It's not so easy to work with other people. But if we all had this in mind and we all truly believed and understood the power of it, I think it could happen a lot easier and a lot faster. And it's going to happen. There's going to be this realization. It's just how much longer do we have to wait? And do we have to go through the pain and the agony and the suffering before we can come to this realization? So I think if we just spend time and meditate on it, think about it, and not just go about our lives, but pause and say, what is it all about and how can we make it better? Then we can do it, and that we can have the third temple rebuilt, and that we can live in peace and harmony, and things can be good. The power lies within. The power lies within us. And God's just waiting that for us. And we have the formula right here in the Torah telling us how to move forward. And that's a great comfort, because it's really agonizingly painful when you think that you can't do anything and that you have no agency, and that you're just a victim. But we're not. We are not. As much as we might look Jews as victims, we are not a victim. We have a lot of power. We have a lot of power, and we have the secret keys to how to unlock that power. We just need to use it. So let's try. Let's start with meditating on that, thinking about that, and trying to let it seep in. And that can really be a great comfort. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom.